Let's get this meeting started.
Like that.
Everything about tonight's meeting is at the table in entrance to this room and on rockridgepublicschools.org. That's everything about tonight's meeting and past meetings. I'd like everybody to please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I hope everybody's enjoying their day. It's a beautiful day out. There's still a little bit of daylight left, so hopefully we can get out of here at a decent time and enjoy some of that. Let the record reflect that Kim Reardon and Lisa Westby are not here. All right, Lisa Westby is entering the building at 6:01. We will wait for you.
Thank you. 17 miles of construction. It's the season, right?
Yeah, it is. And 5 red lights.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll let the record reflect again that Mr. Reardon is not here. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Should we make the added?
Yes, we will. We can add them. We can add them once we have a discussion on it. Okay, so.
Then I have something I'd like to add.
Okay, all right, so we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it. And even at this time, we'll add anything we need to. Yeah.
I would like to add a discussion on student school board reps,
Okay, where would you like that?
wherever it fits.
5-7?
Sure.
After the treasurer's report. Okay. And I would like to add a few things that were added at the table. We have a leave of absence. We can add that to the consent agenda. And
4.38?
yep, we'll add that 4.38. Thank you, John. Okay. And also, we have to, I'm gonna back up just a little bit on where is it? On 4.25, instead of transfer, it should be hired. The wording should be hired on 4.25. Okay. And recommended for hire is this, it's an addition for this Robert Heinrichs for overload at 4.39. Okay.
Consent agenda.
You should have had the paper, everybody should have got the paper.
Yep.
Okay. And then, just for housekeeping, we don't need to add it, we can if you would like. The correct resume for Evan Friedland, okay? It's just the correct one. Somehow something happened with our A.
This is, his letter of interest was in the packet, not the resume.
Right. We can add it for discussion, or I don't think we need to discuss it. Just add to accept it.
Is that under the consent agenda?
Yes,
Heinrich?
yep, it's under,
Heinrich is not.
no, it's actually, it's 6.2.
Okay. thanks.
6.2. If you want to attach it to 6.2, we can.
Okay.
The 6.2 you're referring to is Evan Friedli.
Friedli.
It's not about Robert Heinrich. She was
No,
asking.
no, no,
about
oh, Robert Heinrich, no, that's just in the consent agenda, 4.39, I'm gonna add it to higher, for that higher. Okay, for overload. And then for Evan Friedli, you can add that, you can add the recipe to 6.2 if you'd like. That's just a supplement for,
I think just adding it is appropriate. Just adding it to the,
well, we are in discussion. Where would the board like to put this corrected resume?
I think it would be 6.2. I
Okay.
think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll put it at 6.2. Okay. All right,
I have an
okay,
addition. At the last meeting, we talked about the ramifications of our new senior high Chris Chad, our new dean of students. And then you said at the next meeting that we would probably have to have an additional math person to take his place. Is that anywhere?
And yes, that will come up. All of your principals are here and they're going to give you an update on all of the staffing within their building.
Okay, so I'll ask, but will they be saying if there was an addition or an adjustment or a shifting or something?
Yes, they know that. That's why they're here, to tell you if any shifts or adjustments were made in staffing.
Okay, I just wondered if it would be needed to be on the agenda at some point to hire another person in the math department. And that's something we probably would have to do tonight. That's all.
It is on the agenda. You have several of them here for overloads, and the principals are going to go through that and explain that to you about what those staffing shifts are.
Okay.
That's why you have some of the overloads.
Okay, and are those overloads under the consent agenda?
They're under the consent agenda, yes.
Okay, so they're taken care of.
Yep.
Okay, and then I think we need to revisit our action last meeting on the facilities agreement, because I think board members voted on misinformation, and we may need to revisit that and go over that agreement, because if some of us voted thinking it said one thing and it said another thing or didn't say it, then we voted on misinformation. And so I'd like a discussion of that, maybe not any action tonight, but put that on the agenda for discussion.
I guess I'm curious of what you find is misinformation.
Well, I had asked the question at that board meeting about, is there any
Unused hours?
unused hours, either reimbursement or credit? And it was said that there was, but there really isn't. So board members have been under the impression when we voted that there was that clause in there that any unused hours would be reimbursed, whether it's $350, $375. And then the other thing I discovered after I read the contract after the meeting, on the last page, there are 3 scenarios and the board never picked one. There's the option of 350 hours, 375 hours except for 3 practices and 3 games. And then the third one said, I don't know, everything, all included, and they all had different rates. And the board never really designated which one of those 3 options that we are agreeing to. So I think that, it's kind of
Can you confirm that, Noel?
Yep, I'll look it up.
yeah. So just a short discussion about those things, and then I wouldn't ask to rescind it at this point in time, but before it might be too late to review that contract in more detail, so we are voting on what we think it says.
Well, I always know that there's more hours than we need. And the fact that when you go into the playoff season, or you make it to state, or you go into the regional playoffs, we need that ice time for practice. We need it for playoff games. That's why there's extra hours.
Well, but the contract says, and I have a copy of it here, it talks about annual rent and monthly rent. It doesn't talk about hours or unused hours. So we are committing to an annual amount, it's called a gross annual rent amount, and a monthly guaranteed rent amount.
All right, he's looked.
Can we just put it on the agenda? That way
Yeah.
we,
Yeah, so let's not discuss it right now.
Right.
Let's just talk about it, yeah.
So where'd you like that placed?
You're the chair, add it wherever. accept the consent agenda.
Well, that's kind of low. How do we do 5.8?
All right, that's where. And then,
5.8,
yeah, and then I hope, Noel, that in your superintendent's report, you'll talk about enrollment figures. I've been asking for historic data and current data. And I was hoping that we would have something in front of us.
And they give you additional info on that topic, yes.
Okay, and some figures to look at.
okay, with all that,
And go ahead, and under the consent agenda, I'll have some things to pull, but that's not now.
well, you gotta do it now.
No, she doesn't.
No, we're not on consent
Oh,
agenda.
excuse me, sorry.
We're just
Okay.
adding.
Okay. You got a motion by the Lotiger, support by Eddie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right.
Visitor input.
Okay, visitor input. We have one person signed up, Irene Henderson. Would like to speak.
I'm going to set my timer.
All right.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Schmidt. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. I'm Mrs. Henderson, retired English and French teacher. I taught here in the Virginia schools for 22 years and 3 other schools for 2 more years. I'm here to ask you tonight to look into and invest in a new technology that could keep our students safer. I know that parents and loved ones of Rockridge students always worry about their safety. I've heard some things already this year. And I have some technology that I wish you would research and invest in. The technology that I want you to consider is an ID called Strategic Crisis Alert. It is a safety platform that can quickly identify building visitors, AED positions, first aid positions, and fire alarms. Unfortunately, we know what happened in Georgia. 2 students and 2 teachers at Appalachia High School in Winder, Georgia, were shot and killed, and 9 other people were hospitalized with gunshot wounds last Wednesday. Georgia Bureau of Investigation Director Chris Hosey said during a press conference, the protocols at this school and this system activated today prevented this from being a much bigger tragedy than what we had. The company said, and I have a little schematic here, a little picture of what it looks like. We know that all of our staff wears an ID badge, and this would be something that they would wear all the time as well. Its discrete technology accelerates emergency response by minimizing the time to identify, notify, and respond to an emergency. The badges, which users tend to keep with their staff IDs, have 2 alerts. One to notify administrators to incidents like student altercations and medical emergencies, and a second to issue a campus-wide lockdown alert. And if they push it 8 times, it automatically notifies the police. And it was said that in Georgia, that quick notification helped prevent more deaths in that incident. Okay? So I don't know if it pertains to Minnesota or not, but I do know that they do have some funding for safety, such as this. And so, pardon me, and so I'm here tonight to ask you to look into and invest in this technology, because every day of the school year, you hold within the walls of all of the Rockridge public schools our most precious treasures, our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience would like to speak? Okay, we'll move along. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dr. Yuhan, support.
I'll support.
Robert Dahl. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a general wise question for all of the transfers and all of the not resignations. So when somebody's transferred from someplace to someplace else, is that what you're saying, that principals are going to talk about, that all of the transfers aren't leaving any holes?
The ones, they're gonna update you on all the movements since the last time they updated the board, which wasn't that long ago. But there's been some moves, so yes, the answer is yes.
So that would be, transfers would be moves, and if they could designate whether these moves have created, are because of new positions, additions to our staff, which means a budgetary increase. And so if they could make those distinctions.
Yep, I think they're listening to you right now, so they will take that into consideration and update you on that.
Great, thanks. And that's it, so.
Okay, alrighty. So we got a motion by Director Yuhan, support by Colbert Dahl. Any more discussion on the consent agenda? With none being had, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Move along. We're gonna move along to
Reports.
reports. Mr. Speltz, you are up.
Good evening. I have a lot to tell you, so hang in there. I'll go as fast as I can, I promise, because it is really nice outside. And I hope to only kind of come to you guys quarterly to save on your time too, unless we have a beautiful donation or a great story to tell you. So here we go, the fastest 2 minutes or more in sports, as they say. A beautiful $10,000 commitment from Mr. C. Wayne Christensen's family to dedicate a classroom in his memory. Money has come in from people all over the place, and the family asked for memorials in conjunction with his funeral to be given to our Rock Ridge Rising account. Over $6,500 has come in from friends of Mr. C, and the family has committed to paying the rest needed to meet the $10,000 classroom donation. I came in this summer to walk his daughter and wife through the building to see the classroom to dedicate, and we landed on the foreign language classroom where Mrs. Kowalski currently teaches. A huge thank you to the incredibly generous donors and the Christensen family. Another $10,000 commitment to honor an Eveleth High School teacher. More to come on that as we are planning the dedication. And a $10,000 grant coming from a collaboration with the United Way of Northeastern Minnesota. Schools and partners could apply for the grant. And Elizabeth Kelly from the United Way of Northeastern Minnesota was a great partner on this, and she helped fill this out and worked with me beautifully. It's a building a movement fund, and it will support promising strategies seeking to build the cross-sector connections, frameworks, and relationships needed to scale career pathways across the state and create high-quality opportunities for students in Minnesota. And all projects should be aligned to the core components of career academies and focus on strengthening career pathways that include access to college credit in a high school sequence, rigorous and relevant coursework, and related work experience. Grants range from $5,000 to $10,000. And we got the $10,000 grant. So that was wonderful. Thanks to the United Way of Northeastern Minnesota and Elizabeth Kelly. We will be having, I attended a virtual kickoff on August 27th. There's another kickoff in St. Paul, and we will be doing something next week with a big check, taking a picture with the United Way of Northeastern Minnesota. So again, thank you to them. A beautiful $5,000 donation for North Star Elementary, their Pohocky Construction Lab at North Star. Thank you to Brandon Seppala of Pohocky, along with Eli Little and Ed Kramers, the North Star Elementary teachers, for their great efforts in this collaboration. Gave multiple summer tours. Gilbert class of 84, VHS class of 74, VHS class of 69, and the Evelyn High School classes of 64, 65, 66. All the tours were fantastic. I had a lot of fun stories for me at the Evelyn High School 64, 65, 66, because that's the one that my father graduated in. So right when I started talking, they all said, "You're Willie Speltz's son, aren't you?" So it's kind of fun. But great people. That one was, I'm kind of calling it the 3-hour tour, kind of our Gilligan's Island tour, because we went all over that place and they were absolutely amazed, as were all the tours. So I appreciate all of those tours. It was a ton of fun.
You forgot class of 82?
Class of 82, yes, we did have, but they kind of jumped on the 84 one, correct? Because that.
Oh, 84 jumped onto ours.
Oh, my, what? No, thank you, I apologize, we had the.
That's okay.
Let's do that again, multiple summer tours, no.
That's okay,
There were
but-
Class of 82 and some 84s jumped on, so thanks, Bill.
And I just want to recognize Willie that he does this on Saturday, he does this on Sundays, his evenings, that Willie puts a lot of time in after hours to give these tours. So I want to give Willie a little round of applause for the hard work he does.
Right?
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you, it's a lot of fun to listen to the stories and people are incredibly amazed with it. All right, continuing along, in conjunction with Mary Rantala, our instructor, I have submitted a grant application with the Essentia Health Foundation for 2 Simple Susie patient care simulators. Collaborating with her, she expressed the need. So these are full-size adult patient simulators designed with many versatile features for hands-on general patient care skills training. So hopefully that comes through. I reached out to collaborate with all the local businesses and corporations and companies for our 9th grade career exploration class. That's been going on for a few years now, even when we weren't together. I've scheduled them every Wednesday. They come in and speak to our 9th grade career exploration class, which is a class that they have to take in conjunction with our career academies, and it is fantastic. They give up their whole day. We feed them, and they present 5-6 times throughout the day to a whole bunch of 9th graders, and it's introducing all the different jobs, employment opportunities, careers inside their field. So that's been a great deal, and it's really proven to be a great conduit between the school and our communities. Everybody comes in and they just love the program. Our culinary students will be competing in remember we won quite a few things last year. We will be competing in the Iron Range Rotary Chili Cook-Off on September 19th. So mark it down if you're going. If you're not going, maybe you're going now just to check out our kids. A great deal for our kids, our academy model in action, and thank you to Joe Yuhan. John, he was great reaching out to me and inviting us and connecting us. So I look forward to our kids getting there and trying to win that thing. Jade Andrews been great in that role with our culinary kids. Mark and I have been working. Mark's, we're kind of both on different sides. We talk same side, but hearing from different groups of people, and he'll talk about it tonight, so I won't talk about it too much. But with the Minnesota Supreme Court regarding them coming here to hold hearings, that's going to be an amazing experience for our kids in our school. Mark knows a little bit more, but thank you to our local judge. I talked about it before, Procaccini and Anderson, for this collaboration.
When is that?
That is Thursday, October 3. And there is an amazing amount of security, so if you think you're going to just walk in, you're not. So if you're interested, you better talk to Mark and me, right, Mark, to find out how anybody else can be a part
Everyone
of it.
else will, other than a student, will need to live stream it, watch it on live stream. They will not allow anyone else in.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you. So we'll obviously be releasing that information.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So I'll let him keep going on that. We'll be having one more auction with stuff that was maybe going to be needed and then has ended up not being needed, or we didn't really know what to do with, and now we have come up with the plan to do with it. A ton of old art and pictures and sculptures. Dubid's been here, they're already stickering things, and we hope for this to go live the week of September, not a live auction, we hope for it to go online the week of September 16 or the week of September 23rd. So stay tuned, and Stacy, you've been so good about releasing that on all of our social medias and getting it in the newspaper and stuff. So thank you for that. Everybody will be notified of that as soon as that happens. I'll be getting the Gilbert Fire Department walk through RRHS and Laurentian on an official walkthrough with Mike Hogan. I will get them through and make sure they can see everything. Brandy, thanks for that connection. Mr. Foster's construction class will be building a retaining wall down at the ball fields. John, you'll know this, down by the press box, in back of the press box at the varsity baseball field. That hill has kind of just been running in as the grass never took. So they're going to be building a retaining wall and a sidewalk to go behind to get from third base over to first base. A great project, filling a need and more of our academy model in action. Working with our advanced health studies teacher on a community collaboration. Stephanie Stefanich at Rock Ridge High asked for a collaboration with any community experts, and Allison Krybeck has stepped up. Allison will be coming into Steph's class. In Allison's responding to my words, she says, I would love to share with her class. I could do a presentation on meditation, grounding, and mindfulness, then lead a short yoga and meditation demonstration. Advanced health studies, that's exactly what Stephanie was asking for, and Allison said she can do it. So good job asking Steph, and good job asking Steph, way to go. And thanks to Allison for being willing to come in and work with our students and staff. October 23 through 25, our manufacturing tours of businesses around the area we'll be signing up for our students. We'll be bringing the students on these tours. It's a huge event put on by our regional CTE leaders like Shannon Mulliver and the awesome team she is on, getting our kids introduced to all the manufacturing. Working with Betty Parker, RRHS teacher on a food chemistry class. It's a new class at Rock Ridge. In getting them grants for supplies needed. She needs access to all kinds of different foods so they can study the chemistry of the foods. She needs consumables to best study the food chemistry. I reached out to a great alum, friend of mine, Kirk Widener. Just so happens he's been coming to speak to our kids, worked a full career at Cargill in the food and chemistry industry. So he's going to be a great resource for us on potential access to funds and or products from Cargill. Kurt will also be coming in to speak to that class specifically and share his expertise. Also working with Betty and her botany class, and we have connected her with another alum, Todd Hallinan. Todd's the professional landscape architect who did our entire project on studying them, and we're gonna hopefully study everything that's out there from her botany class, and maybe we can even convince them to help us identify what to keep and what to pull in all of the areas to make the grounds look even better. Todd will speak specifically to that class and share his expertise. We'll be taking the kids on Friday to the Grand Rapids Area Chamber of Commerce. Forestry Affairs is hosting the 7th annual Future Forest Stewards event at the Itasca Fairgrounds during their North Star Expo. It's created to help communicate both the vast opportunities for jobs in the forest products industry as well as the importance of sustainable forest management. Students will experience hands-on learning opportunities with our loggers, truckers, and foresters. And I also know that there are going to be many manufacturing businesses and big companies there sharing their need for workers and what type of careers they could go into. So that's going to be a great one on Friday, September 13. We'll be taking our kids to it. So Jill Oja's doing a great job with that. Working with our Rock Ridge High School teacher, Mr. Conger, on helping him get funding to expand on the great opportunity for students in esports. Stay tuned for more information on this, but it's esports is short for electronic sports. And our subset of gaming video content and are, as defined by eMarketer as organized gaming competitions among players and teams. Like traditional sports, many esports tend to feature the same structure, such as having leagues, teams, and players. So they're looking at a registration fee to purchase Fenworks, a registration fee of $1,200 and $100 plus $120 per student for their team, and get jerseys and stuff. So we're going to look for some funding in that area for that group of our kids. Let's see, and then talked about the 64, 65, 66. That was still a great group. John Engelking from our Northeast Service Co-op. He has us in our area involved in a great movement called Future Forward. Future Forward is an online tool created to connect Minnesota students in classrooms with local employers to positively impact future workforce and post-secondary decisions. Exactly what I do. But now we're going to follow many of the other service co-ops around the state and get a nice big pot of them. The service co-op is going to do that. So now someone could a teacher in the long run could log in on their provide the date, the time, the place, the topic, and then it could go out to all them and someone could grab that and say, sure, I'll come there. So automating that will be great. And final, I'm done now. Just came in today, $7,277 donation to Rockridge Public Schools from the Virginia Community Foundation on behalf of the Rockridge Education Fund for the 2024 expenditures. Thank you to the wonderful donors to this fund and the wonderful Virginia Community Foundation for this great fund.
You had a lot of updates. Nice job.
It was a busy time, but a great busy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Willie.
Thanks, Willie.
Thanks, Willie.
Thank you.
Up next is 5.2, the update on the teacher staffing changes, including update on music staffing. I don't know, you got 4 presenters.
And members of the school board, the reason why they're here is we've been asked to give you current update staffing. And principals, if you know the numbers of students in your building, go ahead and give that for this year to the best of your ability that you know that. And this is also because of any changes, even though I know you saw an exhaustive list, who's teaching what at the last board meeting, number of kids in each class size. This is what has transpired since that time. In addition, we know there are some questions about what's happening in music, what's happening with the dean position, and there were some other ones. So that's why the principals are here tonight, to also answer any question that you may have for them. Take it away, Sheena.
Thank you. So Parkview has very few changes. I think I'll talk about staffing first. The music position, the last time I gave you this document, we just marked it as a new music teacher because it was a posted position at that time. We have hired Amanda Spots to fill that position. She is shared between Parkview and the Laurentian. She comes over to teach one class for me. She teaches kindergarten. And then the STEAM position, because of some shifting that I'll let Scott explain in his building, but because of some shifting in his building, the STEAM position was open. That's a shared position between North Star and Parkview. And that position was posted. It closed on Saturday. We had one applicant, and it's an applicant that we have previously hired and previously interviewed, and he has accepted that position. So filling that STEAM position, teaching 2 STEAM classes at Parkview, is Drew Aho. That did not make it to your board meeting tonight, obviously, because it just happened, but he will be filling that position. Those are the changes that I have. Early childhood family education is a posting that is up. Also because of some shifting in the Laurentian this time, we have a very part-time position to teach some early childhood family education classes. And like I said, that position is still posted and we have not hired for that yet. So that does not start till October. In terms of numbers, Parkview has been off to a great start at the beginning of the school year here. We are, at my best count today was we're up 22 students, but we did have 12 that dropped. So even it out, you're at 10. I know you always ask me where did they drop to, so I also looked that up. We have 4 kids that dropped of the 12 that dropped to a nearby school. And the rest of that number, which is 8, 1 went to Laurentian, and then moving out of the area were 7 other kids, like out of the area, like another state. We had another part of Minnesota. So we lost 4 to just an area school. And then my numbers in kindergarten are at 19 and 20 in a class, 97 kids total. First grade is 103 with 19 and 20 in a class as well. And second grade is at 78 with 26 in a class. Both of my pre-K teachers are capped out at 20. We have 40 kids there, and 3s are at 17 kids. And that's what I have for you.
Okay.
Questions for me before I leave? Don't walk away.
Yeah, Sheena, on the consent agenda, there are quite a few things for the Parkview. Morning aid, lunchroom, elementary yearbook, I love to read, have it. Morning cafeteria, morning playground, supervision in the morning. Are those replacements from what we already had, or any of
Nope,
those?
every year those come to you. The morning aides, they're actually, other than the hiring of oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget his name now, Bruce Urjevic. Those are returning aides, but they're under 14-hour employees, so we rehire them every year. And the salary scheduled employees taking on those extra duties like I Love to Read coordinators, those are things that we ask every year as well.
Okay, so none of these are new positions. We rehire every year.
Yep.
Okay, nothing additional.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And about the music, I might not have gotten everything that you said here. We added one kindergarten class for music?
There's no adding.
Okay.
So I have music for kindergarten, first and second grade. How our schedule worked out this year, normally last year, Miss Forsman had been doing our music and she was shared between two buildings. This year, in order to get Rita her prep, somebody else had to teach a class. That class ended up being the Parkview kindergarten class. So they're getting, the specialist hasn't changed at Parkview. It's just that I have a teacher coming in to teach kindergarten during Rita's prep.
Okay, and how often do your students have music?
We're on a 5-week rotation.
What does that mean?
So they rotate between Phi-Ed, music, art, and STEAM. So there's two Phi-Eds, because I have two Phi-Ed teachers for kindergarten. Second grade's a little bit different, but kindergarten and first grade, they rotate. They have a week of Phi-Ed, then they might go to a week of music, then they go to a week of art, then they go to a week of STEAM, and then another week of Phi-Ed.
You think it's not the ideal thing? If we have 5 weeks, but we have 5 days, if they could have 1 day a week every week instead of something every 5 weeks, might that be a better thing educationally? Or we can't schedule it that way?
Well, we have scheduled it that way. We've done multiple different schedules. In fact, I've done pretty much every schedule that you could describe. I've done it as a teacher or as a principal. There are pros and cons to every schedule, of course. When we did the everyday rotation, it was very confusing for teachers. And when you get into classes such as art, I know that they had asked if they could have a couple days in a row or multiple days in a row, because if they were working on a project, then they don't have to store 400 projects till they see the kids the next time. Because if they don't see the kids until every 5th day and they're all doing clay, let's say, where do you keep all of that? So.
I'm just wondering how good it is for the students to have Phi-Ed, any of those categories, 1 week and not again for another 4 or 5 weeks. And the same with, STEAM and art. That's a long time in between. I'm just wondering.
And I will be honest with you, we've had discussions with the specialists, multiple discussions. We got together as administration with the specialists. We've had discussions with classroom teachers. We have had multiple discussions throughout the years, not this year, but the year before and the year before that. And as I said, there's scheduling pros and cons no matter how you look at it. And this is the schedule that we had landed on, so.
Okay. And all the departments you're saying had input and agreement and.
Yes, they did, and we have a Google form. We actually did an online survey. We have the results of that as well. So this is the survey, and there's gonna be people that didn't agree to it, understand that, but when you take the whole, that's what we came up with.
How long have we had this 5-week rotation? A couple of years or since consolidation maybe?
3 years at least, yeah,
Okay, okay.
3 or 4.
All right.
Prior to that, it was a 2-day or a 1-day or so,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Sheena.
Sheena. Thank you.
Wait your turn, Scott.
I try to jump in front of me. Good evening. I'll update you with our start of the school year. It's gone very smoothly the first 5 days. I know I'm always anxious at the end of the school day with the parent pickup and do we get all the kids picked up and out? And then the buses, is it smooth transition? I feel like it's gone fairly well. So I think over the years, we've worked out the kinks of our dismissal. But we've had a really good start of the school year. We've got a great student body, pre-K all the way to 6th grade. Really good students. So I'm predicting we're going to have a very successful year. Some staff changes that occurred since I had last been in front of you talking to you. The week before, it was the Friday right before we had our in-services, I received a phone call or a text message, I guess it was, from a third grade teacher stating that she will probably more than likely not be back this next year. So we were trying to get all the paperwork that we need. And so we posted for a third grade position, and all of these shifts in my building right before school started, I want you to know we're all voluntary. Nobody was forced to go anywhere. It was all on a voluntary basis. If they didn't want to move, we would hire for that position. So the first domino effect was Jessica Kralich was going to be teaching fifth grade. She went to third grade to replace this teacher that I was telling you that we had that conversation. She probably won't be back for this year. So Jessica Kralich taught third grade before, wanted to do that. She was very excited to go back. And then that opened up fifth grade. So then I went to Mrs. Schreiber, who was reassigned to pre-K this year, and asked her if she wanted to go back. Wasn't sure how, if a teacher would want to that late of notice, because this was Tuesday of in-service week. Open house is Thursday, mind you. So it was like, you just moved all your stuff, you're in a pre-K room, do you want to move back up to fifth grade? So she gave it about an hour of think time, and she said, yes, I'll move back. I'm like, okay, so then do I have to hire for pre-K now? Or will we have somebody voluntarily go into that position? So where pre-K was, Miss Ellen Evan was teaching that previously, so I went to her, asked her if she wanted to. She thought about it for a little bit. This is still that Tuesday of last Tuesday in August, right before the open house on Thursday. She just thought about it for about an hour, and she says, yeah, I'll make the change. I'm like, okay. So now, what do I have to hire for her position? And Shannon Cush, actually, she picked up some of her ECFE that Ellen Evan was doing. So Shannon Cush was always going to teach my threes on Wednesdays and Thursday. Now she picked up a little bit of the ECFE and some coverage that Ellen Evan was going to do. And so we have, like Sheena mentioned earlier, we have, I think it's a 0.29 FTE for some early childhood family education activities we have. So those were the changes, domino effect that happened at Laurentian. Do you have any questions on those changes? It was all a good thing. Everybody was very happy, so.
Is the Laurentian on that 5-week rotation too?
Yes.
For those same courses?
Yep, all elementary teachers are.
So
You're on a 3-week rotation.
Well, I'm sorry, 3-week rotation, but yes, 5 days, but we have a 3-week rotation.
3-week, okay.
So every 3 weeks they see us. Thank you.
And the music too is the same as the Parkview with the same number of days per week. So it follows exactly the same, 3 days, 5 days a week. I mean, 3 weeks, 3-week rotation, 5 days a week.
Right,
Same,
5
same.
days, yeah. We do the music and the FIAD, and then we have STEAM and Spanish for a half a year.
Oh, Spanish.
Yep, we have
Does
Spanish.
Parkview have Spanish?
No, and neither does North Star.
Okay,
They have art. I don't have art.
Okay, Spanish for art. No.
What do you guys do for art? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What do you guys do for art then?
We don't have art.
So the kids aren't getting any art
No.
experience?
Nope, in the past few years too, I know Scott always had 1 or 2 grade levels that did not have art as well.
And
But I'm
that's,
sure teachers do art projects with their,
For sure at the elementary level.
Right.
Sometimes they tend to be more of a craft project than the true art standards, but yes.
and what about your music facilities? Have you worked through some of those things of where music is taught and maybe any kind of an additions to space and things?
Yeah, we had one Zoom meeting for sure together with some of the key players at Laurentian and then our music department, just to figure out the space and how we can make it work, because we do have the smart room that's only used 2 days a week. So that's a large space, and so Maxine had said in our Zoom meeting that she could make it work to where orchestra could be in the STEAM room. But we also have a science lab that just came available to us this year, because when we first started at Laurentian 2 years ago, I had a section going through that was 4 sections, and so I needed to use that science lab. So we truly have not used a science lab at Laurentian yet. This would be our first year, because my 4 section, which are our current 5th graders, I went down to 3. So there's 3 sections. So that gained us this big science room. And so that was thrown in the discussion too. But we want to see if the science rooms are going to get used. I have a calendar that staff can register to use that room. And I kind of want to see how often it's used, if it's going to be something that we need to turn it into something else, if it's not being used as a science lab. But I think we've got it worked out with where we're doing some band lessons, the orchestra lessons, and where we'll have orchestra.
And then if you're using certain rooms like this former STEAM room and the smart room and a science lab, those aren't really acoustically outfitted, are they, for music and or choir?
No.
Like the North Star?
Probably not. No, I don't know what North Star has for acoustics, but I don't know how well our Laurentian one is acoustic wise. Is it outfitted pretty well? The one
We have acoustic panels at Laurentian in the music room. The other rooms do not have any acoustics,
Right.
so it's a very loud, live sound.
Okay. And then risers for choir? Do any of our schools have the risers for the choir? Yeah, the elementary anyway? That makes a difference for choir.
I guess Julie can, if you don't mind, Julie can probably.
Parkview has something called a flip form. It's ideal for younger students. They are a flippable kind of staging that you can use, so I think they're still using those at Parkview. We do have risers that are technically portable, but they are large. They're on wheels, but we don't have a place. It's not something you set up and take down every day, which is what we're having to do in our classrooms. Like in band, I have to set the classroom up every day and then take it down before the end of the hour, so the next elementary class can come in and have a music, like a classroom music room.
And what buildings are those at? Is that?
That's at Laurentian.
Okay.
And North Star.
Okay.
And then the risers that we have, there really isn't even a place to store them
That's my
unless
next
you put
question.
them in a room and left it as the setup. It isn't something that you leave out in the hall. That would be more of a safety issue to them.
And that's just at the Laurentian?
Laurentian and North Star.
We don't have any risers at North Star.
I talk about storage now?
Yeah, no storage for that kind of stuff.
Oh, I thought when we took the tour, there's a storage between the choir room and the band room.
Come take a look.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all the questions I had.
Did you have enrollment numbers by chance, Angie?
I do have enrollment numbers. So K through 6, excuse me, we're at 477 students. I have 36 pre-K that are coming, so that's 513. And then for my 3-year-olds, there's 15, I think it was the exact number that Sheena had. So for a total of 528. In kindergarten, there's 68 kids. So we have 24 in one classroom and then 22 and 22. First grade, there's 72 students enrolled, so each teacher has 24 students. In second grade, we have 66 students, so 22 in each class. Third grade, I have 65 students, so we have one with 23, one with 20, and one with 22. And then fourth grade, there's 61, so it's 20, 20, and 21. And fifth grade is the one that we went down from 4 sections to 3 sections, so it's 83 students, and there's 28, 27, and 28 in 5th grade. And then 6th grade, we have 62, so 21, 20, and 21. Those 36 kids making up pre-K, there's 17 and 19 and 1. And I already mentioned about 15 in the early 3s.
I have a question about, let's see, we're only offering something at the Parkview. I was online and we aren't offering it at the Laurentian. What is that? Is that threes or fours or before school or after school or, I can't remember.
Oh, I think you might be talking about the Wolverine care?
Yeah, and the morning and I've gotten calls about that as
Yeah.
well.
Okay,
So unfortunately, because of enrollment numbers, just not enough people to staff it. We, at Laurentian, we do not have Wolverine care in the morning or on Fridays. Fridays before school or after school.
But Monday through Thursday, then you have it after school? Is that what you're saying?
Correct,
okay.
correct.
And just wasn't enough enrollment or need or request for it?
Right, Amanda Matheson, who kind of operates that, she said with enrollment numbers, it wasn't cost-effective to offer.
I think there's an MOU being voted on, is what I was
I
told.
think the MOU has to deal with a different issue,
It's separate from
yeah,
that.
a little separate.
But Chad Hazelton, Community Ed Director, is taking a relook at this to find out how many kids are we away. But it is true, for whatever reason, we do not have the enrollment at Laurentian that we do in the other building. But we're taking a relook at it.
Okay.
We must have minimums that you're going by as far as making a decision.
We need 8.
Whatever they are, 8.
8 students, and every morning, it's hard to get 8 kids in the morning, because Ashley Prout is our before school supervisor, and so she's, every day when I come in at 7:30, I walk by her with the kiddos that she has out there, and even last year, there are very few kids in the morning,
Apparently there's 5 on the list of what I was told right now.
yeah. It's probably accurate, we never had a huge turnout in the morning.
And then all Head Start is at the Parkview?
Yes, yes.
We have no Head Start. Oh, I'm asking.
I have the Virginia Head Start in
It
my
got changed
building.
this year.
The Evelyn Gilbert Head Start is in another facility within the Evelyn area, I'm assuming.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I wasn't even notified where they're located.
And I also temporarily have an extra Head Start in my building using one classroom because they are remodeling the facility next to the Pine Mill. So they're in construction, they'll be out in a couple months. But the 3 Virginia Head Starts are in my building, along with one extra right now.
So how does a person from Evelyn Gilbert area, and you said it's in another building, the Head Start? I mean, is it like a private, it's not even involved with the school, is it Head Start or is it another?
I think Head Start is operated by the government.
Head Start is operated by AEOA, it has nothing to, it's a separate entity that has an.
They've rented from us before, right? They've rented rooms
Gilbert.
from us.
It must
and
be Gilbert, because,
So
yeah,
it's- it
I'm
is
really
separate.
familiar with it, I
Start
wasn't
is.
involved in it. But yeah, it was in Gilbert, now that you said that.
So is that other location, that other building, kind of not awkward, but what's the thing, not convenient for?
Completely irrelevant to this conversation, I know that.
Head Start is in our district, so.
It is, but it's just not something we're in charge of, is what he's trying to say.
Any other questions for Laurentian?
I have none.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Staffing changes. And I will tell you that all of these were done before open house, so there was no confusion to parents. So we had Kyle Lawrence was approved to have his leave for 6th grade. Lindsay Engel applied and accepted the 6th grade position. Drew Aho, who was the long-term sub for 3rd grade, applied and accepted Lindsay's old position, the .4 at Parkview, .6 at North Star. And then Katie Hunter applied and accepted the 3rd grade long-term sub. So it was a real fast turnaround in about 3 days, but we got it done. So that makes sense to everybody. Highlights of the first week. Well, you only get to open a building once like that, and it was an amazing first week. We went through 800 cookies at our open house. We've spent the first week teaching behaviors, how to get in line, our morning routine at breakfast, our discipline matrix. If you take a look at the district Facebook website or Facebook page, you're going to see our third graders and how well they're doing at lunch. Students, staff, community are loving the new building. Instructionally right now, every grade is teaching true team teaching, which means they're using the building as it was supposed to be designed. So come on over, take a look. There'll be one teacher instructing both classes. The other teacher will be out help supporting in that role, and then they'll switch roles. And then we start our PBL on Friday, and the title is Our School, Our Responsibility. And the essential question is, what jobs do we as students need to do to keep our building safe, welcoming, and clean? Then probably want enrollment numbers. When we left Franklin, we were at 374. As of right now, we are at 391. We've had a lot of fast turnaround in enrollment. In the last 2 weeks, we have gained 8, lost 2. 6 of those 8 came from other local school districts. The 2 that left did not leave us for local school districts. What other questions do we have?
Just how many are in each grade level? I'd like to know
Okay,
that.
third grade is at 106, so they're at 26.5. Fourth grade is at 83, so the average class size is 20.75. Fifth grade is at 93, and they're at 23.25. And then sixth grade is at 108, so their average class size is 27.
How about the rotations for you for gym, music, those types of things?
We're planning, we are a 4-section school, and I think we will be for a while. So we have, most of the grades have Phy-Ed, music, art. But because of preps, 5th grade has Phy-Ed, STEAM, art, and music. And we spent a lot of time talking with the specialists about the rotations. And the feedback we got is they wanted it to be a full week. So they could on Monday introduce something, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then they could teach it, and then Friday they could assess it. They've taught in the other way where it was like once a week, but they were saying they couldn't get into a flow of an instructional lesson. So that's why we took a lot of feedback from them. But we looked at many different models.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have none.
With it being so close to downtown, how's everything working with people walking through there and like you said, keeping everything safe? How's that going?
Okay, Scott, that goes back to an email we got. Okay, you saw that email?
Yep.
Okay, right.
Just so you know, I've met with Virginia PD between that email and now 5 times. We've walked the building, we've walked the grounds, we've identified some of the areas. We have signage that's ready to go up. Like one example is going to be our school campus will be closed from 7:30 to 3:30. So, because what's happening is a lot of people just see that natural corridor back to the courthouse from 6th Avenue to 5th, so they cut across there. We've also we've been vigilant in the evenings to take a look. I've stayed late. If there's people riding their bikes on that hill, we're going to trespass them. They're not going to damage our brand new building. So we're working with them right now because the city of Virginia closes their parks at 10 p.m. That's when we're looking at closing the basketball court and some of the parks to keep it consistent with everybody else in town. That can be changed, but that's kind of what we're going with now. We have signage about keeping their bikes off of the rubberized playground mats, off the artificial turf. All of that is ready to go.
How would you get people to leave 10 o'clock at our park in Virginia because there's no fence or anything? I mean, is it just police officers driving by, that kind of thing?
Yes, it would be them patrolling that area. If they know that nobody can be on the property after 10, they're able to trespass because the signs are posted.
Are there floodlights there that, would turn on at night, or how does that work?
There's lights like on the basketball court that turn on, but we have them turned off at dark. So we can set the timers on those.
I do have a comment. So, and I'm sure all the other principals are doing this too, but I just specifically heard how nice it was that Mr. Manny was outside greeting everyone like the first week of school, and you had a big smile on your face, and just how nice that was to see your presence outside and directing the kids.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was out on the playground one evening, and there are people that are coming from other communities because we have the nicest facilities and playground in the area within 40, 50 miles that they've been coming, and they're bringing the grandkids and everything there. So if you go by there some evenings, there's 50, 60 people on that playground. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Next is Mr. Mark Winter. Big numbers here.
Good evening. We too have had some staffing changes that really have happened in the past 2 weeks since the last board meeting. So we did fill a special ed position that was left open. We had a resignation approximately August 8th, August 9th, something like that. So that has been filled by Sean Johnson. At 8 o'clock the evening of our last board meeting, I received a resignation from one of our deans, and that, as of last Friday, has been filled by Evan Friedleaf, which is on your agenda here shortly, which his filling that dean position leaves an opening in Fayette that is currently posted. I do have one applicant, and we have one individual that we are ready to move into that position. As of Thursday, we can act on that. So we do believe that we will be able to move forward with that pretty seamless. The other vacancy that we've been dealing with for the past 3 weeks is our high school math position. It's math and STEAM. We were not able to find a certified instructor. We did a lot of work on it. I spent a lot of evenings, days trying to configure what we could do, different ways to rearrange it. We thought we had solutions 2 or 3 different times, and they fell through. So last Friday, I did meet with the union, and we did some schedule changes, but we did end up offering overloads to our staff. So we will have we did shift one teacher and one class of geometry to a different hour. We had a teacher that had a class that had about 4 or 5 kids in it. So we shifted those kids to a different class. That freed up one of the sections for math. And so over the weekend, our counselors did some schedule changes, did some schedule rearranging. We went through today balancing class sizes because it's not as easy as just moving the kids in that geometry class, because there's a domino effect with kids in the schedule everywhere. So they've been working hard on that, and we believe we're pretty close to having that finalized. So Jessica Cordicus is the teacher who will be teaching that class of geometry. Dawn Savla will be doing an overload in the other class of geometry. And Greg Foster, James Eichholz, and Troy Caddy will all be doing an overload filling the 7th grade STEAM positions. So those are my staffing changes, far more than we ever like in a high school this late in the game. It is very messy when we get to the start of school without staff. So, but we do believe we're in place and ready to move forward now. I'll give you some high school numbers, but I don't really want to because the high school changes. Typically, high schools will have some 15-day drops coming up, so it's not very accurate until we get to the 16th day of school. That's when it becomes much more accurate. But right now, we are at 1,074 students. We ended the year anticipating 1,054. So we are up about 20 students. The number's a little bit deceptive because some of those students are listed because they're duly enrolled with our ALP and the high school both. So the number's a little skewed. But then some of those students at the ALP are not listed at the high school. So we currently have 22 students in our ALP. which is great. We were hoping to have 15 to 20 when we started opening day, and we currently have 22. And we're having a few more meetings, enrolling a few more students there. So that's great to see. Some of these students probably wouldn't be in the district if we didn't have this program. So it's exciting. They're doing a great job. And I'm really excited to see where that program moves, because I do believe it's going to grow, and we're going to reach our cap of 40 by semester, I would guess. So, questions you have for me?
I was just wondering about, because I had received some information about the STEAM and the science classes and things. So are classes as large as 38, 40 kids in a class? 44 kids in a class? How large are they?
I don't know what the largest ones are. Yeah, there are some that are 37 to 40 in 7th and 8th grade.
Is that even feasible with space?
Well, fortunately, it's crowded. I'm not going to say it's ideal by any means, but we were able to move tables in. The one advantage, the science rooms are larger than the other classrooms. So it is doable, but it is far from ideal. They're pretty large. There really are no easy fixes. 8th grade science, for example, the class sizes are balanced between 37 and 39. There is no moving kids to balance. There's no one section large, one small. There are other classes at the high school that are small. When you start getting into some upper level classes, some calculus classes, those types of things, they're small. Some of the lower level classes that most students take, those end up getting large. So, yes, we have a couple over 40.
So is there a way to make it a little less stressful? Because I'm sure there is going to be a lot of behaviors in the classrooms with that many students and, teacher trying to teach and that kind of thing. Is there any way to alleviate some of that stress? And because obviously I'm concerned about burnout, so any solutions?
We certainly support them where we can. Obviously, I don't know that I have a magic stress reliever, but certainly, when they need assistance, we're there. We'll talk a little bit more about the deans later, but the deans are doing a great job, willing to, as quick as they can, go to assist if they need it. But we have to put the students somewhere right now, and so class sizes do get big.
Well, and like Bill had mentioned earlier about Willie being, working on the weekends, all teachers, everybody works all the time. But, you also mentioned about the counselors working over the weekend, and, I want to show appreciation to them too, because scheduling is a nightmare sometimes, so kudos.
Yep.
Do we have adequate seating places for all these kids that are getting
Yes, we have a
some?
seat for everyone. Fortunately, the board graciously granted the new furniture from last spring. The other thing we did do, for those of you who can picture the high school, the end rooms that are the double rooms without the wall in the middle, we just have one classroom in there, and so we've shifted. If we have a class that's large, upper 30s, low 40s, we've adjusted and moved teachers that have those really large class sizes in those rooms, so they do have more space to spread out. And then we have the table and seating for them. We're continually moving tables and chairs though, as we have to continue to adjust. I know I have a few that we have to move by tomorrow morning, so.
Okay.
Do you have the numbers for each grade? I'd like to have those.
I don't right off the top of my head. I can get them to you. I'll email them to you by the time you get home, you'll have them.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
So Mark, when you talked about the math and the shifting of math, I don't know if it was just geometry or some of the other math courses, what are those class sizes looking like?
Well, it's 2 geometry classes, so it's 2 of the 3. And as of this morning, and I don't know what the adjustments were, as of this morning, they ranged from 17 to 32. They were trying to balance those as the day went on today, though, so.
Okay. And you talked about the science classes. another one that there's only so many stations, I know so many science stations per tax and those, that type of thing, what are those class sizes like? Do they have more students than stations?
Depends on which one you talk about. The seventh grade, again, seventh grade, all students have to take those. So the seventh grade flex classes do get large. For the most part, they're around the 28 to 30 where their stations are at 28. The high school level, like the culinary arts 2, we can only fit 15 kids in that kitchen. So those, we have caps at that size. And then other students just have to take a different elective and take culinary arts 2 a different year. Same way with the other culinary arts lab is capped at 28. The art classes get capped at 20 because they don't have the space to go beyond that.
Okay. So what about music? Do you have, do senior high students have music lessons? And then how often do they have like band and choir practice during a week?
So, and I don't know how much detail you want. Band, we have a 1.0 FTE. So one full-time person, he teaches 4 classes. So a high school band, a 9th grade band, and then 7th and 8th grade band, both days of each hour. And then his 5th hour is lessons.
So does that mean that those students have music every day or choir every day or not?
7th and 8th grade are every other day. But the high school are every day with direct instruction.
And then lessons, how does that work? Do they all have lessons?
I don't have the answer for you on that. I'm sure they don't all have lessons. There's no way he's fitting, I don't know how many 7th and 8th graders we have.
Maybe Julie.
100 and some into an hour a day. There's just no way he's doing it. I don't know what that rotation is.
Go ahead, Julie.
He has 1 hour of prep a day to provide lessons, and that is for 7th and 8th grade students minimally. And within each group, within 7th grade or 8th grade, there's probably 9 different instruments, so it's group lessons that he would have to provide. So if you do the math, these students are probably getting a group lesson maybe every 3 months, 3.5 months, maybe.
One time every 3 months?
You have to rotate between 9 instrument sections of 7th grade band A, 7th grade band B, 8th grade band A, 8th grade band B, and he has 1 prep time to do that. And then those students are being pulled from another class in order to receive that instruction.
So there are no individual lessons? Did we have individual lessons before?
Once upon a time.
Well,
those days went away, at least in my tenure in the district and the Virginia side several years ago, but they had consistent weekly group lessons, and we don't have that anymore. So.
Noel, is that not part of your report or not? Anything more about music? You added that discussion, but. Or
No,
is that
this is because you can hear it straight from the principal.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest though that the board have, I don't know, we just revisit our music program and our staffing and our scheduling very quickly to see if we can do something more in that music area. And so I don't know if it should be on a committee meeting first and then put on the next agenda, but I think we need to revisit that. We may need more staff for a good music program. It's starting to sound, not starting to sound like, but it's sounding more and more like we need more music department staff, so. Let's keep that on the radar very, very soon.
It's on the radar, and we did add back a .64 music position.
But that wasn't.
Which the board approved. You also heard, I need to say this, you also heard about 7th and 8th grade class sizes, so we could absolutely have a work study session about it. You don't have, it's very difficult to do anything now about it because the kids are in the classes, everything is set. I'm not going to say impossible, but it's very difficult to do anything about it now. And I also have to say, you don't have preliminary numbers in, but you do not have the revenue to pay for these programs you want to add to. I know you do. I'm not saying they're not important, I completely get that. But let's wait until see what the numbers after the 15-day drop is like. The numbers will be way more accurate than what they are right now. I get it, I understand it. You have a bunch of areas who would like additional FTE.
I just want to keep it on the radar
Yep.
and, as of unfinished business, so to speak.
Okay, Mark, are you done on that?
I'm done with that.
Hey, why don't you just roll right into 5.3?
Is that the homecoming?
Yeah.
I got a few in a row here. So I did meet with the student council this morning. They obviously are very adamant. They were not really happy with the way homecoming happened last year. They were interested in making some changes. And obviously, I believe we're open to those changes as well. Last year, student council made some significant changes, and the group made it very clear to me this morning that they weren't necessarily happy. I don't know what the details of most of the homecoming are going to look like. I don't think any of you probably are really worried about the little things that are happening and who's tug of warring who when we get to that point. But I know the king and queen are probably the most the highly anticipated topics here. And what the proposal right now, which I believe we're going to be going with, is a royal court, obviously, and then inside of that royal court, each grade level will have some representatives representing each grade, so 9 through 12 would be electing, and each grade elects their group. So ninth graders would elect the 2 ninth graders and so on. The seniors would elect the royal court to that 8 to 12 people, depending on how votes come out. Obviously, when you start voting for large groups of people, there are ties and things like that. So a little flexibility as to how many we would have. And then upon that, having the royal court, there would be the opportunity for all 9th through 12th grade students to vote on a king and queen. And we would bring that back as to what both buildings had in previous years, back when it was back in Evelyn and Virginia. In a nutshell, that wraps it up. Did I miss anything, Cora, or was that pretty close to all of it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Did I hit the highlights?
What week is homecoming?
Homecoming week will be the week of September 30th.
September 30th.
So that's a very busy week. As you'll hear when I get to my report, and Willie also mentioned, that's also when the Supreme Court is coming. It's that Thursday. We're going to have some recommendations for student council with one of the dress-up days, that Thursday being a dress like a professional day. So we can be appropriately dressed when we're on the Performing Arts Center on that day. But the football game would be that Friday night, October 4th.
I'm hoping we have a home volleyball game that week. We did that last year. We missed that somehow.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I know that they were looking at it and they were trying to get as many home events as possible, but I don't have the calendar in front of me, so.
Yeah. It would be nice to have both.
Yeah, for sure.
So Mark, can you explain a little bit more your statements about what grade level would have some representatives of a representative group, and how would that look as far as what you're recommending?
There would be a one boy, one girl, that would be a representative of the freshman class, sophomore class, junior class, voted on by each class.
Okay, freshmen through senior.
Yes.
Okay, and that would be like a
Prince
and princess type of
We
model.
didn't say what we were calling them, but we just said a student rep or a pair of student reps for each grade level.
Male and female?
Yes.
Okay.
How they identify.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Mark, then I guess you covered 5.4, I do believe, almost.
Or is there more?
Or is there more?
Is 5.4 my update?
It's your,
Is that the homecoming?
nope, that's your Rockridge High School Principal Report, which,
Okay, I'll go fast. Quick few things. We did have our open house. One thing, the only thing I really want to share with our open house is that upon handing out iPads, we believe we had over 80% of our students come that day to get their picture taken, iPads, parking passes. So what that does is it frees up basically 2 days during the beginning of the school year that we don't have to be calling kids out of class. We don't have to call them out to get their iPads. We don't have to call them out to get pictures. So credit to everyone, and it's a pretty neat day. Students can wander the building, things like that. So that's pretty good. We obviously, like the rest of the district, have a renewed focus on attendance and discipline. We talked about it as our staff at length during our workshop week. I also addressed each grade as a class, brought them into the auditorium, and then the student handbook was also covered one day. Really making sure that everyone understands rules, guidelines, and how we're going to follow through when we have those issues. We did talk quite a bit about the ALP, so I won't go into that. But the other part of the ALP and having a program there is we're also having an alternative to suspension room there. Basically, it is a room where students don't necessarily have to have OSS. They still need a consequence where they're not in the high school or not in classrooms, but they can come over here. We have a para that in the past would have been at the high school in an in-school suspension room. Now we have it over here with the sole purpose of not having kids stay home when they're suspended, but having them have a place to go. Obviously work on their homework, work on those skills, but then also work on some restorative skills as to, okay, what caused you to get here? You know, why are you here? What can we do differently so you don't become a frequent flyer in the alternative suspension room? So, and then again, just the last thing, and it's very exciting. I have been working, as Willie said, about the Minnesota Supreme Court. They are coming October 3rd. They're actually coming October 2nd to the area. There will be a banquet the evening of October 2nd. Some of you will probably be invited. It is basically for all local dignitaries, judges, attorneys, I believe. I'm not sure who all is invited. I don't set that up. I just know that we're also going to have some people that are invited. So that will happen on Wednesday night of that week. I do believe that our orchestra will be providing some pregame music for that event. So we'll be doing some of those things. The big day for us in the high school does come on Thursday, the day that the Supreme Court is here. They will arrive in our building about 8:15 or so. We will have some representatives from National Honor Society here. The Culinary Arts 2 class will be providing breakfast and treats for the judges. We'll have escorts for the judges, attorneys, police officers. So all of that will be taking place. And then at 10 o'clock, we do have a hearing. This is the real thing. It is a Supreme Court hearing. Every year, the Supreme Court comes out to one school outstate and one metro school in the spring. They are coming here, obviously, with some good influence from some local judges. It is a hearing. It is a hearing that has gone through the appeals process and now is at the Supreme Court level. The hearing only lasts an hour. The attorneys will each have their opportunity to state their case, and then from there, the judges don't make a determination. They don't tell you what happens right there, but they come up with their opinions and then they write their letters from that opinion. At the conclusion of the hearing, the judges take a quick few minutes to disrobe, then they come back on stage and will answer student questions for an hour. So our student body, grades 9 through 12, will remain in the auditorium and ask questions of whatever nature. Our social studies classes are going to be working with students to come up with, what questions do you have? So they'll have some questions ahead of time to make sure that we're on board with everything. From there will be a lunch, which Jade is also providing, and that will be for the judges who want to sit with our students and our student, the escorts. They want to have lunch with them, so they'll be having lunch in the Career Center. And then about 1 o'clock, most of the judges will leave, but 2 or 3 typically stay, and they will be going into classrooms. So then we'll work with our social studies teachers. We've already talked that they will pick and choose a couple of classes that the judges will go, and it's going to be just a kind of a open question ceremony, and I'm anticipating real questions as to what do you do as a Supreme Court judge and how did you get there? I'm sure those are the types of questions that they're going to get, but they're so gracious to stay and do that. And then they'll be leaving about 2:15, 2:30 to beat the traffic rush out of the building. So very exciting time, and it's a lot of work. We have a committee together that's building this. I'm working with the secretary from the justices, and her other duties was the state fair, so she was a little bogged down with the state fair, but now we're deep into it. So questions you have for me?
Sounds like a great opportunity.
Two more quick ones.
Yeah.
You talked about the ALP, and sometimes I get confused about between the criteria for ALP and on the special ed. Is that ALP like voluntary?
Yes.
Voluntary, just like, and special ed is voluntary too, of where they want to attend?
Yes. Yeah, they're two completely separate things.
Yeah.
Now, you could be a special ed student and still come to the ALP. We would still provide your special ed services. We just wouldn't, depending on what your needs are and what your IEP said, we wouldn't necessarily do it here. We'd have you go back to the high school to meet with your case manager and whatever the needs were there. Again, it all depends what's in your IEP. But to be part of an ALP, there are criteria. You have to meet one of 10 criteria. The main one is you're significantly behind credits. Yeah, then it is volunteer. You don't have to come. We can't force you to go. Things like that. It is a voluntary placement.
Okay, so some might choose, even though they're Rockridge students, they might choose to stay over at the Northland?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, potentially they would have that option to go to their ALC. And again, they're an ALC, we're currently an ALP, so.
Right. And then you said we have 1,074 students now, 7 through 12?
Yes.
And I thought you said, unless I misunderstood, at the end of last year, you anticipated a certain number, but that is different than what did we end up at the end of the year last year?
I believe we were, 1054 is the number I have in my brain. I don't know why that is.
That we actually ended up as, okay.
That could be, I don't know. We're estimating we're up about 20 students right now, but again, I wouldn't hold any of those numbers,
No, that's fine.
any validity whatsoever.
I probably misunderstood, anticipated versus actual numbers.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
I got a quick question on the traffic. You mentioned getting out ahead of the traffic. How is the traffic this year for the kids coming in? And the parking?
We're having issues with both. Obviously, it's still, at the end of the day, traffic is bad. The little difference from this year to last year is both bus waves aren't affected quite so much because we're holding kids a little bit longer here for the Virginia wave because they're coming from North Star to here. So it's a little more delayed than it was last year. Last year, I believe North Star came first. So they were in our parking lot waiting for our students. Then as soon as they left, the other buses were actually waiting for them to get out of the parking lot. So we don't have that. But it's still, we're still fighting with, at the end of the day, from 3:05 to 3:10, students trying to leave, Solaris of Laurentian staff coming, or families coming down the hill. We're still working on parking attendance, or parking lot attendance, but the parking lot itself, we have plenty of space. We have some issues with some people parking in the wrong places. So it just takes some education. We've had a problem with some staff and students parking in OA's parking lot one day where they had a busy day, so we had to move some of them. So it's just a learning curve as to where exactly are the student spots and where are the staff spots. But there's plenty of parking. Back here is never full behind the building.
Are we getting jammed up on the highway?
Occasionally after school.
Okay.
I guess I haven't been out, at 8 o'clock. I've been in the building, so I don't know if it's happening before school as well. I know, what day was that? Wednesday or Thursday, it was backed up to the road leaving. They were backed up at the stoplight, and there's just not a lot we can do about that. That we have no control over, so.
Right.
Mark, is there any chance, have you had any conversations about possibly opening that gate to the dirt road behind the Laurentian for an exit by the Super 8 until the new road comes behind there by the county? I mean, would you? is that
I
something-
have not, but that's not, my understanding, it's not a public road, it is a, I don't know what.
Service road.
Service road.
Service road.
Fire
So, I mean,
department,
just
something.
check to see if we can use it anyway.
We
And-
can't.
There's no harm.
It's not an official road. And so we are, however, through the political process, we will be trying to get additional dollars. So that could be changed into a road and would hook up with the spur. But it's an Evelyn road. The city of Evelyn owns it, but it's not a road, if that makes sense. We can't send anything down that road. So we're hoping we can get some money. What you have right now, we got to get through this year. And then the roundabouts are going to get built. It's going to be worse for a period of time, but hopefully MnDOT is telling me in St. Louis County that they will be working on that roundabout in the summer, and they're hoping they can start it and finish it in the summer. So it won't impact us. And then traffic should flow much smoother down there on Highway 53. At least that's what they tell me.
A suggestion was made to me to have at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, half an hour at the beginning of the day, half an hour at the end of the day. Policemen down there to regulate the traffic. I don't know.
Police are here all
if
the
that's-
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I can
are they
attest to
regulating the traffic?
Morning traffic is the same as it was last year. No change.
So they're out there
They're
directing
in the,
traffic?
they were in the area all the time. They're either at the ranch.
But
or
I
the
mean
Civic.
directing.
They don't direct traffic, no.
That was the suggestion.
There's a stoplight there. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't like stop traffic on the state highway.
I think it'd be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, with
60 mile
Yeah.
an hour, yeah.
So Noel, even though that road is a city road, and I know it's utilities, and that's why you call it a service road, but could not the city of Evelyn decide to allow that to be used?
I've had multiple discussions with various members about that road. They cannot legally do that.
They couldn't even if they wanted to?
Because it's the size of the road, the shoulders, how the road was constructed. Somebody would have to spend millions on that little segment to turn it into a
So
road.
even if they wanted to, they couldn't, okay.
Right.
I'll tell you, the one thing that could eliminate some traffic in the morning is if we could somehow widen just a little bit to make a turn lane into the high school, so the Laurentian traffic could skirt by and not have to wait for all the cars to come down because it's backing the traffic up.
Good idea.
If they could move over just a little bit so the traffic could get past them.
Which turn are you talking?
Because if you have half the traffic going to the high school and half going to Laurentian.
Yeah.
The drop-off people from Laurentian are coming back down, so anybody coming to the high school has to wait for all those to
Yeah.
come. So if the Laurentian traffic could keep going by, the traffic would flow better. If you had just a turn lane into the high school.
Yep, I see what you're talking about.
Using the 1404 parking lot to kind of
Skirt
circle in
around.
there and you could get down farther.
But, yeah, that would work.
Okay.
I've had some time to think. in that.
Okay,
It's not that bad. I
thanks,
mean, it's-
Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, Noel, superintendent report.
Couple updates. Let me quick talk about building numbers. Our building numbers, you heard the building numbers. We will have at the next board meeting more accurate numbers for you. Once we know who's coming and who's going, we'll also put those in historical perspective so you can see what the numbers have been over time. I don't want to give you numbers now because they're going to be wrong. And so I'd rather give you correct numbers because once you put out wrong numbers, then people just assume that that's the right number. And then when you tell them the correct number, sometimes folks start saying, well, why'd you do that? You know, what are you hiding? We're not hiding anything. We just want to give you the right numbers like we want to give you right budget numbers. So next board meeting, you'll have historical data and we'll give you the accurate numbers on what students, what we're seeing right now. But at first glance, if you're just listening to what these and you're adding things in your head, yes, it looks like we have more students than we did at the end of last year. In addition, want to also update you on the Buildings and Grounds Committee. We thought it was going to be on the agendas tonight, but I just want to give the board an update on the ATV school forest. I gave each one of the board members a map. The ATV club did It looks like this, board members, with the colored. Most of you have a one page.
That's not it.
That's not it. That's not it.
This is the,
Oh, not, excuse me, I'm talking about the wrong thing.
That's the, we can
I
talk
have too
about
many-
that.
I have too many maps in my head and roads, they're going all over the place in my head right now. So let me go to the map that I told you about, switch gears. This is the MnDOT, in addition to the big roundabout, which is gonna be a two-lane at Highway 53, and the road going up on Progress Parkway. So I had a meeting with a gentleman from MnDOT, Buildings and Grounds, talked about this. This is the map that MnDOT gave us, and I put on there north, south, east, west, so you can get an orientation that's in red. The green that you see on the map, that is right at the left field fence for the JV baseball field. So that road right there, that Morgan Road, that intersection is going to get redone, and they're going to put a new road behind the gas station, old gas station. There's some individuals who are apparently renting it right now, and you can see a little diagram of where that old gas station is. They're going to put a road behind that old gas station to the east. And when they do this, they're going to also work on Borgen Road itself. And the reason why this is coming up to you, and Buildings and Grounds talked about this, is that they are going to go down into the ditch, and the possibility exists that they could have to work on remove the fence and remove part of the turf under a worst-case scenario for us. They are telling me that they don't want to do that. They are going to try not to do that. I've given all of the information that they gave us to Trevor, one of your attorneys. Trevor has looked at the information MnDOT sent you, because you're going to have to agree, probably at the next board meeting, they're offering you a couple $1,000s for use of the few feet of dirt from the road running down into the ditch towards the baseball fence. So you could protest the amount and say that you want more. Is it worth it for a ditch to argue over a couple $1,000s? Trevor didn't think so. But he did say you certainly could send a letter to MnDOT saying, hey, please don't disturb the fence. Please, whatever you do, don't disturb the turf. And there's also a scoreboard there. And also, we would also put in the letter, please don't disturb the scoreboard. And the individuals working on the road hopefully won't have to disturb that. But I just want to bring it to your board's attention right now. And the Buildings and Grounds wanted the full board to hear this and to also know what was going on. I don't have a start date. In the documents, MnDOT has said they will be done by the year 2030. That does not tell us when they're going to start. But just want to, at this point, there's nothing for you to do. We'll bring it up to your attention, and then it could happen at the next board meeting. You'll have some documents, and then you can tell me what you think about all this. But on stuff like this, I like to give it to a one board meeting ahead of time so you can at least start thinking about it. And then it'll probably be on your agenda at the next board meeting.
Do you know why they're doing all this, or?
That there, Nicole, if you look at the frontage road, right?
Right.
They don't want people coming off the highway and getting on the frontage road because if there's cars like wanting to get on the highway, that would back it up. So they want people to get off the highway, come up Morgan Road, and then turn on the new frontage road.
So go behind all those houses?
Go behind it, yeah. They don't want traffic backed up right there on the highway. If I remember right, that's what the guys mentioned at whatever that presentation we went to. That cars coming off this way can go onto this frontage road in front of that gas station.
Right.
But if there's a line of cars waiting to get on the highway, that backs up traffic on the highway.
So
Okay,
they're.
so they're
okay.
They're gonna put this road here so the traffic has to come up this way and go this way
Oh,
and
I
then
see,
turn this way.
that'll become the freeway then, is what you're
This,
saying?
no, this will become the new frontage road.
That'll be the new frontage road, so
That's
there
only
won't be
going
a
to-
frontage road,
Only going behind that old gas station.
It's only go behind the gas station.
just behind the gas station.
Yeah.
Right, and
So
then,
what is all this going up here?
that's Morgan Road.
I know, but what, why are they making improvements there? Because if it's
in
only
bad shape.
here.
Well, it's in bad shape, and yeah, and then it just shows you the easement. from the
No, I
center
know,
of the
I'm just
road.
wondering why, why we would be disturbed, that's all.
What happens is,
It's,
this
it's,
is,
it's right here in the green.
I get that,
But
but
why?
why?
here's what. MnDOT told me, because I asked them the same question.
I know you're not MnDOT,
Yes,
so.
because none of us have master's degrees in highway
No.
construction. When they redo a road or an intersection, they always extend out a little ways. And that's what that line is, you see, the blue line, that's where they think they might have to go further out to make everything blends in together and it's
Okay,
safe.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So to recap just a little bit, they are gonna try not to do this. And we could send a letter to them. They're already gonna try not to. So if we send a letter, what will that do? I mean, if they're already making an effort, would they reroute differently? Or,
No.
we don't know.
We don't know, the Buildings and Grounds Committee, I don't want, there's some members here, they thought it would help
Yeah.
so they're more aware of it, to not touch the fence in the field.
And if they
Because
can, and if they
it's
have,
like right there, so I'm thinking maybe they can.
and as if they have to take down the fence, they gotta put the fence back up. They have to take down the scoreboard, they have to put the scoreboard back up at their expense.
Yeah.
That's what was discussed. Am I correct, John?
Yep. And our hope was that they leave it all alone because no one wants them touching the turf. That's, that's,
Yeah.
that's put down in a specific manner and,
Don't think it get put back the same way.
yeah.
And just so you know, from my perception, MnDOT, St. Louis County, they've really been excellent to work with. They've been really, really good about telling us what's going on and keeping it. They have another open house in September. It'll be at the high school. I hope folks who are listening go to this meeting so you understand what's going to happen on 53, because it's really been really good here, working with these folks.
Well, maybe it would behoove us to send a letter, that would be maybe icing on the cake. They're already trying not to hit it, and if we send a letter, that'll just be a little bit more dialogue that they won't.
And this way I won't have to send a truckload of medications for our activities director, Josh Lampa, if they have to touch the fence. We don't want to touch that fence.
So the consensus is to get a letter drawn up and sent to the state.
Yes,
Okay. Correct?
that's what I'm hearing.
I think that was smart, easy.
Okay. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, what else you got?
Um,
School forest thing.
School forcing, ATV, I do not have a map on that one, but the Buildings and Grounds met with some representatives from the ATV club. Unfortunately, there were a couple teachers who wanted to go to the meeting. They were not there. They're going to have another meeting with the ATV. We thought we were going to have something for you to look at tonight. The teacher group and the ATV, they're going to need to meet and talk about some issues. I believe it's still going to come back to the full board. It has to. But essentially, there's an ATV trail that goes through part of the school forest. It is not new, but.
ATV/snowmobile.
Yep.
Snowmobile.
And the teachers just want to make sure that they stay on the trail.
And the other issue was the school forest was District 706, okay? And the state in the grants in aid deal where they offer up money to help and put signage up, it says District 706, and for those people to keep a lot of housekeeping, it changed from Rockridge District 2909. So they had to change the name of the help me out, John.
Easement.
The easement. Because they travel through a portion of it, and they're gonna put up signage to stay on trail, grants and aid trail, they're gonna put up signage. Anything we want, they'll do to keep people on the trail. But it was basically, they had to change the name from,
706 to 2909.
correct. Thanks, John.
It's a recorded easement.
Hmm?
It's a recorded easement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's coming back to the full board, just to give you a heads up. Other things, just want to give you an update on is the buildings and grounds, also talking about the 1404 building. You have acquired the 1404 building, we have keys to it and access to it. So and this will come back to the full board, but I just want the full board to know, we are going to get you various pricings. So if certain things happen in that building, how much would it cost? If this happens, what would it cost? If this happens, what would it cost? We know, for example, that you have already told us you were pulling out of the NLC for special ed. We have to create some rooms for special ed kids. Part of that could be certainly at that building and part of the building. So rather than we need numbers. You need numbers to look at. So we are going to get you some numbers to look at and for you to start thinking about what you would like to do with that building. But we'd like to get you some tentatively rough draft numbers so you can make an informed decision at some point in the future. But there's no rush right now.
In the future, it might be nice to just tour it again to see what we're dealing with
And we can do that. Tell me when you would like to tour it.
Because you have the keys.
in the future.
In the future. Okay, next thing, just to give you, I know that you have asked me to come up with some superintendent goals. I will have those for you at the next school board meeting. So those will be rough draft goals. I'll give them to you, and then you can react to them and say, change this, do this, add this, or something, whatever you'd like to do on that one. But I'll give you that at the next school board meeting. And the last one, this is related to Irene Henderson that you saw talking about school safety. So the Personnel Committee did talk about school safety. And so just so you know, I am meeting with the captains of all three police departments. I've met with some already to see if there are some options for us, because we don't have an SRO right now, and they are just short-staffed. They still don't have an extra officer for an SRO. So we're talking about other options. We'll also take a look into what you heard Irene talking about here to see, is it doable? How much does it cost? How would that work? Something like that, because people are very concerned about that, and understandably so. And so just so we let the board know, we'll take a look at what you just heard tonight. We're following up with the police captains in all three to come up with what might be doable, see if there's a workaround in some way, shape, or form on the SRO topic. So more to come on that topic. And that's it.
All right, we'll move along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, well, we'll move along. 5.6, can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Make a motion.
Support.
Okay.
Motion by Johan, support by Lotiger. Any discussion? All's in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 5.7, discussion on student rep.
Well, first of all, welcome back to Cora.
We're sorry.
Yeah, a little late in the
Yeah.
meeting, but welcome back to Cora. So I just wanted to have a discussion about what we want to do as a board for the junior school board rep. Do we want to ask for applications like we did last time? Do we want to ask for applications and then have the student body vote on those people who put in applications? Like, what do we want to do? Do we want to have a discussion as a personnel committee about that, or a different committee, or just kind of let administration take care of that? Because we do need a junior.
I mean,
My opinion,
go ahead. Sorry. I do know that like the way that it rolled out last year, like how I ended up getting on board, like it did feel very fair. And like it was nice to know that it was the board actually deciding that I would be on. So I don't really think maybe necessarily have it as like this student body. It can be an option, of course, but it was just nice coming on the board knowing that that was a decision made by you guys. and the process and how you guys, like, we were like sought out, like I got called down, and then the whole interview process and everything, like it just felt very fair. So I don't think straying from that too much is necessary. I mean, it was only my first year, but I thought everything felt very fair and concise and everything, so.
Thank you for your opinion.
Yeah.
I think I was one that agreed with that. I liked, just because of our whole, career academy, I like that there was an interview process and you have applicants, and I guess that was the way that I would like to go, but I know we had different ideas, so I'm not sure, maybe it should go to a personnel committee. I don't know.
Policy committee.
Policy, sorry. What policy?
Yeah, that's what I think. It should go back to the policy committee. We never did firm up a firm policy.
That's true, we did, that is true.
We had a lot of examples and, things, but we never customized one of our own, so. That should be on the front burner too, so we can get another one on board.
Yeah.
Set up a.
And I would assume that's something I can help with, but I would like to, as a senior rep, to help seek out a junior or
I was
the
thinking that'd be a
process.
good idea. That's,
absolutely.
I'd be fine with that, and sitting in the interviews or giving opinion, that'd be fine by me.
Yeah, maybe encourage people to apply, for sure.
I'd be good with that.
Okay,
My hearing also, you would like to make a guest appearance when this committee meets to tell them what you think,
Yes,
okay?
Yeah.
We can make that happen.
thank you.
Well, my opinion was to have a vote, but you made a very good point,
Thank you.
so
I agree.
changed my thinking.
Cora, what do you got for us?
Well, I don't know if she's got anything today because
Okay.
we just.
No, I did this morning I was able to come. I originally wasn't able to, so I actually have tap class after this, so yeah,
So
nothing
after
today.
today,
Okay,
so
all right.
after today's meeting, we just want to
Right.
make sure to get student school board rep report on our.
Yes, I mean, I can
agenda,
tell you that I feel like the first week of school has gone pretty well. Like as a senior, it's exciting, of course, but all in all, like getting class like figured out. Like I know the counselors are working hard, students are figuring it out. Like obviously it's going to be stressful, but you just got to take what you have and work with it. And I think for the majority, people are pretty happy with where they are at. So, I mean, I only talked to such a small portion in the beginning weeks, but that's okay. That's what I know so far.
All right. You got school tomorrow. If you want to go, you can go.
It's okay. I have tap anyways. I'll be out later.
Okay, 5.8, discussion on ice time. I know Polly brought up some stuff. I would feel comfortable if you brought Brian Silver in and maybe Josh Lampman to give us information in regards to reimbursing on ice time.
I'll tell you what I know, and then you tell me if you want to bring them in. Or do you want to just bring them
No,
in?
oh, look, the law is the same.
Okay,
Huh?
so
Come on, his version, please.
you probably saw me disappear a couple times. I made a phone call, talked to some individuals. So let me pull it up, what did I do with it? So if you take a look at the one that the board has already approved, what Director Sorkin is talking about, there's 3 levels of hours. There's 350 hours, there's 375 hours, and then there's 400. Or there's hours that if everything was at Virginia in the MAC, here's how much your hourly rate would be. So if you use 350 hours, it's this much per hour, 144 an hour. If you go up to 375 hours, which is more, and you have all the home games except for 3, and you believe that 3 boys, 3 girls, it's 132 hours. If you throw everything and have everything there, then they're gonna charge you $120 an hour. Well, we know that not everything is going to be at the MEC. We know that we absolutely are gonna have some games in Evelyn. Right now, we're scheduled for at least 2 girls hockey games and 2 boys hockey games in Evelyn, and we would like to keep that going. And so you don't really have to decide on the hours. It's however, we're gonna end up in the middle one, probably close to 375 hours. We've always gone over however many hours that we have in here, but City of Virginia is saying, here's what your rate is. The more you use it, the more games you play it, we're gonna drop the rates. but you're not gonna get the cheapest rate because we are playing some games in Ella. So that's what that means. I don't see a decision you need to make. It's just however many hours we play on that. We've always hit those hours, they're not gonna charge you if you hit 350 hours, but you don't get to 375 hours, they're not gonna charge you for hours you didn't do, because you're just gonna pay at the 350 hour rate. And then once you get to 375, if you're at that, then they'll give you the cheaper rate.
So there's no reimbursement, is what
No.
you're saying?
No,
It's just,
I don't see it
it's
here.
just-
I just reread the contract.
Sure.
So it's just basically
Games
as you
played.
use it.
Yeah.
Hours as you use it.
Yeah.
And I
So
do
it's not a
believe he
contract.
was here in front of us the last time we approved the contract, and that's what was said the last time.
What they did is they used the word commitment, and that's word, maybe a better word could have been used in the contract that the city of Virginia put in, but that's the word they put in there. So, but that's what it really means.
Well, and that matters, that's a big difference because it talks about annual rental rates. It doesn't talk about number of hours used, and that means we're going to pay that.
It does, I'm looking
Annual
right at
rental
it.
rates is so much per hour, correct?
Yeah, there's an addendum, there's a one page, 2 page, it talks about, there is a flat fee if you use it for locker rooms, for example. There's a flat fee for using the trainer's room, so doesn't matter how many games you have, there are hours. There's that flat fee, but for the actual ice time, it's based on hours. So the rooms, flat rate, ice time, hours, hourly rate.
Okay.
Let's see. The gross annual rent is set for in Article 1A, which is Exhibit B. The user agrees to pay the owner the gross annual rent, and then the gross monthly rent shall be also paid. So to me, that means those figures we are committing, and that's right, that word commit means commit. It says nothing about if we don't make the hours, 350 hours, we get any, or the 375, if we use less than we get a credit.
I'm pretty sure if some kind of disaster strikes Virginia and a tornado takes out the mech and you don't use 350 hours, I'm sure we'll be able to talk to them and figure out a reasonable solution. But we've always used that many hours.
Well, I don't know if there was a meeting of the minds on this when multiple board members talked about, yes, it's in there, yes, it's in there, we get credit, we don't have to pay for hours that we used. And even if it should just be spelled out in particular that's what that means, I think that's not beneficial, but I think that's prudent of us to do.
We only get charged for the hours used.
I think what she's saying is that
If we
if that's
don't
the
use them?
case, then, correct me if I'm wrong, Polly, but I think what you're saying is if that's what it is, then it should specify that specifically in the contract.
Absolutely, we should, so it's specific, it's understood, both parties know that that's understood, because the way it's written now, it says we commit to a gross annual amount, and we commit to monthly amounts, and those monthly and gross annual amounts are on Exhibit B. I want to make sure that.
Hold on.
However, board, I should point out, you have already approved this.
We can rescind and we can
No,
make
you
amendments.
can't. You're
We
in
can make
breach-
amendments.
You're in breach of contract.
Well,
You can ask politely the city of Virginia to reopen negotiations, but you have a contract with the city of
We
Virginia.
can make amendments. There's a portion here about amendments and estoppel and.
But I would ask, Noel, that you bring in.
We'll bring him here for the next
Bring
meeting.
him here.
We'll bring him in.
Okay,
You can
give clarification, because I'm seeing it differently. I'm seeing it like, okay, we're using up to 350 hours. If we don't use up to 350 hours, Okay, we're not paying for 350 hours, we're using it hourly.
And this is
It should
the
say
same,
that.
same contract
Yeah.
that we used last year with very minimal change.
And
Same,
this is-
same contract we approved last year.
It's the same, and there was the same question, and it was assumed that,
Problem last year.
and if that were to be up to, that would be a big difference then that we are committing to. Up to would be just fine with me.
I think
That's a big difference in a contract of what we, and then to see maybe from the business office, how many hours and how much we did actually pay the city for their facilities versus the
Okay, I'll bring
hours.
him in.
Okay, that will
I think
work.
that's a great idea,
Great idea.
just to clarify.
Okay. I would just also like to clarify that everybody got a piece of paper on their desk. I know it's,
Got a few.
no, it's a piece of paper from me that had a $20 receipt for the purchase of my flagpole, just so the public knows that I did pay for my flagpole.
Did you take it down, Bill, or did the contractors take it
They
down?
took it down.
They took it down?
Not for me. Not for me. It was just, I'm not gonna go into the details.
Were any of our EBLA
I have no idea.
organizations offered it, like in Gilbert? they
I have
offered?
no idea, Polly. I just know that it sat there for a year and a half.
But it wasn't offered like other equipment and things offered to the city.
I have no idea.
I think we've
Well,
been
we should have.
consistent, I think we've had this conversation multiple times.
Right, I'm
and I
not
think
gonna
we've
go
been-
there. I don't wanna
I
draw-
think we've been consistent in how we've handled auctions and
I don't
different
think we
things.
have.
And people are aware that our buildings are coming down, and if they're interested in things, I just encourage them to reach out to administration for those items.
Well, the school district
all right.
asked cities if they wanted certain things.
Explain why.
And
I just-
asked
I
certain
just-
organizations if they wanted certain
I
things.
just want the public to know that I paid for my flagpole.
I just want the
Okay.
public to know that everything should have been the same, been asked if they wanted certain things, and even artwork.
Okay, we're off topic.
Well,
I just wanted to
I- kind of, sort of,
specify
but not
that. No,
really.
well, no, you're
Okay, we're
dragging it
moving
out.
on,
Okay,
6.1.
6.1. Consider approval of maintenance agreement, quote, from Daikin Applied Americas. This is the buildings and grounds. We met with Mike in regards to having a maintenance agreement with Daikin Corporation. They are the manufacturers of the equipment on all three buildings, am I correct? Then the maintenance agreement is in there, what they do, I think it's every month. Is it monthly?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay. Motion by Yuhan, any support?
I'll support.
Support by Colbert. Any discussion?
I'd just like more clarification for the layman because I don't understand
Okay.
like what they're maintaining
They're
exactly.
going up on the roof, they're changing filters.
Okay.
Checking belts, greasing bearings,
Oh, gotcha.
checking fire rates, fire rates as in making sure that they're not, the burners are good. I mean, they're checking gas pressures, they're making sure it's a safe piece of equipment.
Up until this time, how have we been maintaining it?
that was my question.
I think did our guys do it once?
Some of our guys were doing it, then we had another company who was also doing this. We would like to, Mike would like to go to one company, so would the other custodial and engineers who are working on it, so it's just one company that they're dealing with.
So this is over maintenance head?
No,
Yes.
well, not really. It's
We've
just,
always had this, you've always had something like this, because you have so many new buildings, they just want to put it under one agreement, rather than four or one for each
So it
building.
keeps it more seamless
Okay.
and,
Yep.
yeah.
well, the guy shows up,
Yeah.
he's got all the filters he needs, all the belts that the equipment needs, he's got the grease, he's got all the equipment for testing. He goes up there, he does his thing, and down the road he goes.
Makes sense. Okay.
And I guess we do a ton of filters up there, because their equipment's running for fresh air to the building, if they're running 24/7. So,
And so the cost of this would be 12,000 plus some change every year for 3 years,
correct.
each year for 3 years. Let's see. And then that's, on top of that would be any parts and labor, I think I see that on 4. Any parts and labor is above and beyond.
Parts and labor for repairs if there's something that's broken.
Right.
This is for maintenance. This will keep our stuff running, keep our downtime
And for
minimized.
emergency
Yeah. And say like the
situations.
filters that you talked about, of course, we would be paying for those. Did we get any quotes, or did we go out, what's the word, seeking any other?
This is a Daikin representative. It's
And
not-
that's our equipment.
That's our equipment. That why would, so
And so it's the corporate,
it's a corporate employee
but it's a local and corporate.
out of Minneapolis.
Okay, all right.
So he's driving from Minneapolis, or he's probably doing a circuit from building to building to building.
Okay.
He knows what each building has and the filters they take and the belts and all that stuff.
They have a local person too,
Is it?
who
Yeah.
Mike thought would give us faster service.
So that'd be nice, yeah.
So we get to choose the local or the cities.
I have-
We're gonna choose whoever gets here the fastest.
Whoever's available, for sure.
All right.
Whatever Mike recommends.
Yep.
Probably like me. I work in Bloomington, but I'm a local guy. I mean, it's my territory. They must have a local guy up here that runs this territory for maintenance, so it's no different.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Just in time.
6.2, consider approval of Evan Friedland as a dean of students. Any motion for that?
Make the motion.
Motion by Johan,
Support.
support by Culver Dahl. Any discussion?
Did we hear tonight from Mark that we have one applicant that's fully licensed in Phi Ed to take that spot?
Let's ask Mr. Winter.
Yeah.
Mark, the one that you referred to, the applicant to take that Phi Ed spot of.
We have one applicant, she was in our Phi Ed position last year that we had. She will need a variance, it's not in her license, but she did last year. It'll be the exact same courses that she taught last year. She is willing, she is currently subbing in the room, waiting for Thursday.
Okay, and how many years in a row these days, they keep changing the rules, can you get a variance for?
Currently, you 5, but they don't have us counting yet because of COVID. We just got the update that until January 1st, they have not been counted. The variances haven't been counted since COVID.
You know, I don't know, variance, but Phi Ed, it's a specialty, and I think if we can, maybe repost and advertise. I know that the school started, but a few weeks wouldn't matter, to see if we could get a fully licensed person instead of a variance. I don't know anything about, her qualifications or anything, not saying she's not good, but we should be seeking fully qualified, fully licensed people for all of our spots, and I'd like to try and find a fully licensed, I shouldn't say fully qualified, fully licensed person. That's my concern and my wish.
Okay, any more discussion on 6.2?
Did you want to add something?
Well, my concern would be we would have a fully licensed person when she got her variance. If we don't do that, we now have a substitute in the room for an undisclosed amount of time. That's my concern.
And we've already advertised and we've got one applicant, so.
Okay.
I think it's important if we could go, take a little longer and try and find a fully licensed
And that's
person.
not what we're talking about either, we're talking about the dean position.
Well, there's a domino effect. And so one causes another. John, you know it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion.
Aye.
Huh?
Aye.
Oh, you're a yes? Okay. Motion passes.
Aye means I am opposed. Aye, yes, no. Some people say aye
Oh.
and I say no.
Motion passes 5-1.
5-1.
With Director Shortman voting no. 6.3, consider approval of MOU between District 2909 and Head Start.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Lotiger, supported by Addie. Any discussion?
So what is, is this just a new contract or something added to the contract? As an MOU usually means it's just something, an understanding related to the contract. Just in a nutshell, so we know what we're voting on.
Yep, this comes up every year. However, we have an expert in the audience here. Sheena, they're right in your building. You have to approve an agreement. Head Start is a federal program, so they have to have paperwork. So that's in essence what this is.
So how's that different than just contracting with them, an MOU? This isn't a contract?
No, we don't contract with them.
So it's always been classified as an MOU?
Yep, but they just utilize our facility.
We're not in charge of the wording that
Well-
they decide to use.
And this one is for 1 year, is it always a year?
Always a year.
Okay.
It's the same thing that you see every year. I think the only thing changed on it is that they have a classroom that they're using for 3 months.
And I think this is the same contract we used in Evelyn Gilbert, I do believe.
Yeah, like I said, this is the same contract you approved last year, the year before it. The only thing that changes is the use of the classrooms.
All right, I just wondered how it might be different than a contract. Guess I got my answer.
With no more discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 6.4, consider approval of request from the Virginia Historical Society to acquire a letter written to the Virginia School District in the early 1900s, signed by Theodore Roosevelt.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
So we got a motion by Culver Dahl, supported by Westby. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Can I just ask to see the letter or a copy of the letter? It would be nice
Where
to
is it?
have.
We will make sure you see
Yeah,
it before
I
it
think
goes
that'd be
there.
pretty cool.
Yep.
Okay,
Willie has locked it away.
sure, good.
Meeting announcements, our next regular meeting will be September 23rd, here in this building. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Director Lotiger, support by Culver Dahl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Good night.